This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Casper. Take 100 days to try your obsessively engineered, shockingly priced Casper mattress and take $50 off any size at casper.com/MacVoices with the code MacVoices. And by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like MacVoices, MacVoices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for MacVoices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the Talk of the Mac Community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're doing a little series called The Road to Macstock as we all head to Woodstock, Illinois in July. We're talking to some of the presenters, the folks who are going to be there and make this something special that you really should consider coming to. This time around, we have, well, I don't know exactly what they're going to talk about because Mike Potter would always tell me that it's supposed to be a pretty humorous session. So we're going to have to get it out of them. First up, Ms. Jodi Spangler. Jodi, it's great to have you. Thanks for being back once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. And her partner in crime, or at least I think it's partner and I think it's crime, Melissa Davis, the Mac Mommy. Melissa, it's good to have you back. It's been way too long since you've been here.
Thanks.
Yeah. So you two are actually, you're going to do the only team presentation or presentations at Macstock. And Mike won't tell me anything, so I guess I'm going to have to try to get it out of you and get you to tell folks what you're going to do.
Well, we told Mike that we're going to have to kill him if we told him, so, we might just have to hurt you a little bit. So we will divulge a few secrets, but we're not going to give everything away.
Okay, well, I don't want you to give, because, folks, the whole idea here is not to, do the session now, but to just find out what it is they're going to be talking about. So, all right, I will take the risk then. Who wants to tell me what your session or sessions are about?
Well, the title of our session is going to be Senior Moments. So if you can guess what that might mean.
Okay.
So Jodi and I basically, we work with senior citizens. That's the bulk of our consulting that we do. We're both consultants, and we basically work with a lot of old people, and we kind of give them a helping hand and guide them and tell them, no, if you press that button, it won't blow up your computer screen. It'll be fine. Really, you can press that. That's kind of what we do. So our talk is going to be, we're trying to make it lighthearted and kind of broach a sometimes serious topic it can be serious for people and their families. So we're going to try to, add a little bit of humor and some wit in there. And then, like I'd mentioned previously, we're going to be doing a deeper dive. And so then we'll be talking more intently about the topics that we talk about in our icebreaker. What do you think, Jodi? Is that okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good. The goal is to give people knowledge and also a skill and to be comfortable between the generations, because there's a lot of time where that and talking with a lot of the people where that they just as far as instructing grandma how to use an iPad or instructing them what FaceTime is, there's a huge gap in that, and it's really frustrating to both the senior and the person doing that. So we're going to try to help that along and make it a little bit easier for everybody.
There's a lot of things that we take for granted. A lot of us that are going to be at this conference and speaking at this conference are self-described geeks. And so when we, say something as simple as like hit the return button, that someone else might take that very literally and like smack something, things just very, very simple that most people wouldn't think a lot deeper about. We just do it all the time and we really take it for granted. So we're going to be talking about those kinds of things.
I admire you so much for this kind of topic. There are a lot of us that joke about it, and a lot of us that are going through it or have gone through it, where we're acting as tech support for our parents or grandparents or even just those less tech savvy because of the generations. And I know I find it difficult to not having the patience is not it, but to get down to that level and see the computer or the environment the way they see it. Because beyond a certain point, going backwards. Those generations have no frame of reference for so many of these things.
Right.
I had a couple yesterday that they told me their iPad was broken because when they were traveling in their car, they couldn't get to the hotels and the maps and stuff that they could on their iPhone. And they didn't understand why their iPad wasn't working. Of course, it was not a cellular iPad. So, not understanding the difference between cell towers and Wi-Fi. I mean, to them, it's just magic. They don't know. And then, of course, they bought the wrong one. You can't add that. So, there's like a, $500 mistake that they'd have to take back and get another one. So, it's things like that they the terminology, they don't understand at all. And, if someone would have, when they bought it, say, well, you're going to use this in the car, I said, oh, okay, that's a cellular one. So, and that didn't happen. So now it's, they can't use that.
That is a huge frustration. Like it happens all the time. People will go take their mom or their grandma, or these people will get brave enough and get up enough gumption to go into like a Best Buy or a Verizon store, the phone store, and they'll go and they'll buy these things with the best of intentions, and they just don't get the right salesperson, or they get someone who's working off a commission or something. I mean, we have to correct those mistakes a lot of times. I just helped someone who thought he said he wanted the latest iPhone, and what he wanted and what he actually got were two very different things. And he was really upset, understandably so. And I actually had to kind of be like the dutiful, I'm like an adopted child to a lot of these people, and, take him back to the Verizon store, the phone store, and get the correct phone. They sold him just a basic iPhone 6 with just the 16 gigs of space, because that's what they had in stock. And that's what they wanted to send him out the door with. But he really wanted, and which is a real shame for the store because he really wanted the 128 gig, and he wanted the 6S, not the Plus, but the 6S. He wanted to have the latest camera. So we had to kind of march back and go in and talk to the manager and stuff. And it breaks my heart a lot of times, because a lot of times people are either just overlooked in this demographic. They're either overlooked or they're taken advantage of. And so Jodi and I kind of clean up a lot of mistakes that were made, or things that they got themselves into trouble with. They got themselves locked out of something. We have to sort of be the white hacker and kind of hack them to get them back where they need to be. And it's a lot of hand holding and a lot of, especially for my parents, a lot of talking them down off of a cliff. My dad's iPad's been really close to going flying across the room a couple of times. My dad is my guinea pig, so.
Yeah, it's, and I don't want to demonize any of the big box stores or any of the carriers, at least not in this discussion, because it can be difficult, because sometimes to jump over and pretend to be on their side for a minute, people come in and they know they want something, but they really don't know what they want because they don't understand the implications. Jodi,
the terminology or what to ask for.
Yeah, I mean, Jodi, your example of the iPad was perfect. I mean, to them it is magic, and don't all iPads do this? And Melissa, you're talking about the gentleman knew exactly what he wanted as far as the best camera, but he just didn't necessarily know the right models. And sometimes it does feel like they take advantage or just don't. I don't know. I mean, that particular story, maybe it's good that they weren't trying to upsell him too far, but on the other hand, were they just trying to dump stuff? Right, or
get rid of inventory or something. Or the fact of the matter is that when it comes to anything beyond the 16 gig, and this is what I learned, is that that's what they keep in stock. The other things have to be ordered. So if a customer is saying, I want it right now, I want to walk out of the store with it right now, well, there's only so much that the salesperson can do. So, there's just that lack of communication that maybe if they would have told them, or it could have been that the person just made that choice at the time and didn't realize what the consequences or repercussions were going to be. Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard enough for us to keep up with this stuff. How can you imagine, seniors keeping up with this stuff? I don't know if you've read my stuff on Twitter lately, but I just learned that my ISP right now at this present moment isn't evidently compatible with IP version 6. And I had to go and disable it. I was having all these connectivity errors, and I wasn't able to remain connected. And I had to go and really dig to find that information. I mean, who would just know that? You have to find this stuff out, and okay, that's something I'm going to put in my tool bag. And now the next time I have a client that's having connectivity issues, that's something, if I haven't asked Jodi first, that's something I'll be able to pull out and and put to use.
As much as we all talk about everything, and especially Apple, but the whole technology thing as getting simpler and getting more powerful, I think the industry has a long way to go, because it's really not. For the non-techies, everyone wants to build in more capabilities, more features, and unfortunately that means more SKUs when you go to buy and try to understand what the differences are. And there are times I start to wonder if, there's been so much discussion about Apple's product grid and how many different SKUs there are and how many different choices, and you do start to wonder about the simplicity aspect of things, and whether it's just, do we really need 7 colors and multiple
It's becoming
screen
fragmented,
sizes?
isn't it?
Yeah, I
hate to use that word. That's a word we reserve for Android, but it's starting to. And Jodi and I have to cover like the broad gamut of all these devices, because I'm pretty sure Jodi deals with it, but I know I deal with a lot of parents who have hand-me-down devices from their kids that have upgraded. So, we have to be able to go back in time and support older devices too. So it's even more.
Or other platforms. I had someone with an Acer tablet. Yeah, that was
Wow.
pretty bad.
I haven't delved into that realm just yet. Jodi and I were having this conversation. Someone asked me if they could help out this older woman with her Android phone. I was like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, you can do it.
I know. She told me I can. I'm getting there. I'm really starting. I'm starting to take on more clients now that my kids are in school. So I'm in a bit of a transition myself. But one of the things I want to talk about is one of the stresses that I deal with is like sort of protecting the Apple brand or protecting the user experience. I'm very much, it's for me, that's why I'm called the Mac Mom, because I very much mother people. I very much feel like it's my job to take care of people. I want people to feel like they're being taken care of. Or when daughters and sons hire me to take care of their mother or father, I want them to feel like they're being taken care of. I treat these people as if they were my grandmother or my grandfather, So I very much take on kind of a mothering approach and a, soft, gentle approach. You have to be very, very patient and very understanding. And so sometimes there's, questions, there's things that are sensitive of nature, their personal information, they trust a lot. So it really does take someone with a lot of patience to be able to do this kind of work with this demographic of people.
Jodi, interesting that you would even take on an Acer. Are you
I
just
take on anything?
You take
just bring it. I'll do it.
you'll figure it out later.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I do.
I like that. I like that.
I've always asked people. They said, "Well, can you do this?" And I'm like, sure. They never asked if I ever did, but can you? Yeah, I do it. Yeah. So that's
and
okay.
I know I should take her advice and I should just do it, but like I said, I'm kind of transitioning. I'm getting into this more, and for me, I want to protect the user experience. I want to nurture the user experience. So I want that person to feel taken care of. And if I feel like I don't feel comfortable and I don't know what I'm doing, the reality of the situation is I probably could pick it up and press buttons. I think things just, to us, they kind of come more intuitively and I can sort of figure it out. I just have that kind of right brain, left brain analytical thinking going on, and it's about troubleshooting and problem solving, process of elimination. So I'm not necessarily scared of it, but for someone to pay me an hourly rate to do it and then to not feel confident, that bugs me a little bit. I don't have that level of confidence because like Jodi does, she's been doing this for so much longer and she's got that level of experience that I'm, that's my goal. I want to be like Jodi when I grow up is basically what it boils down to.
Well, what I do is if it's something new and I've never seen it, I might give them a discount if I feel it's taking me longer to figure it out. Yeah. I'll do that. But, it's I just can't say, no, I have to fix it. I have to make it work. So, just put it in my hand and there you go.
We were cats in our past life. It's like, oh, give me that toy. I got to bat it around.
I have to make it work.
Torture it a little bit. Got to make it work. And we are very much very determined, very stubborn to try to fix something. And, just like today, I had to tell the client at the time because I booked a certain time and we went kind of past our goal. And I'm like, I need a granola bar or something because my sugars, because I'll just keep working. I'll just keep working until I pass out. And I just, that's probably not good for business. So, but yeah, I mean, I just need to figure out from a business aspect how to approach that, give a discount or, charge a different rate or something, or, play with it on the side.
Well, what I'm finding, like with, I've been servicing Apple for years and years. My Mac SE is sitting under my desk. But I have found that as far as Apple, it's great when they have multiple products. But there are some people, I have had some seniors where that a $200 Galaxy Samsung tablet with Lollipop on it, just so they can do email and do Facebook and read the news. That's it.
Right.
They don't need anything else. They don't have to sync anything else. They don't have to, and they're not bad. It's not a bad system. It is if you're a geek and you want to do everything. And, in fact, my Samsung Galaxy Tab that I have, my grandkids use it. I tell them, try to break it. Try to destroy it. I want you to try to make it not work. And so far, it's been pretty good. So, but as far as the senior, because the seniors usually get the hand-me-downs. They will get the Androids. They'll get the other ones. If they get an iPad or an iPhone, that's great, But then sometimes they don't. Sometimes that's not what their kids gave them, and then they just want to Skype, or they just want to do email, or they want to do Facebook. That's like it. Nothing else.
As much as we pride ourselves in our Apple tech and our Apple kit, I'm the same way. I will, like I said, I'm trying to learn more different kinds of devices, but for me, it is very, very, very much about the right tool for the job. And I always tell people that it's a very holistic approach. You really have to approach it holistically, and it's very, very needs-based. Most people ask me questions, and I can't give them an answer unless I ask them a couple questions first. So it's all about your needs. What are your basic needs? Right. What are you going to do with this machine? How long do you want it to last? What's the upkeep going to be? What's it going to cost? A lot of times it'll be for, one time I did run into a situation where it was a client and, I said his basic needs are this. And I actually ended up talking to the children of this parent because they were in on the decision. And I said, well, he probably really only needs this. And I was grateful for the son actually coming back and saying, well, he would do more if he had a machine that could handle that. He really wants to get into digital photography and management. And so, those are his needs now, but maybe he'll do more with it with a different machine. So we spec'd it up a little bit, and that worked out better. So again, it's very holistic. I want to make sure that they have a really good user experience, a positive user experience, because it has gotten harder in some aspects. The technology is supposed to do the work for us. We're not supposed to do the work for it. It's supposed to make life easier. And when you're not having a good time with it, then it's not a good fit. So you want to be able to enjoy the user experience, not be frustrated by it. Yeah. So it has to be the right tool for the job, and it has to be the right service for the job. They don't need to have a service that they're paying for when the free version addresses their needs. And so that's what we want to go with. I'm not going to tell someone you have to use iCloud. You have to use all the Apple tech. If you're happy with Google, we'll go with Google. I always tell people that I drink the Apple Kool-Aid, but I like a Google chaser with it. So I think that they go together. It works for me. Yeah.
I'm curious, and I know I can ask you to this and you'll accept it the right way, but you're working in on what remains a male-dominated industry, or a primarily male industry. Do you think that being females has an advantage, especially with your particular clientele?
I'll let Jodi go first on that.
It does in as far as, like Melissa said, like nurturing them, and then with their trust in that usually females are, because we are so used to nurturing children or nurturing other people, it just goes hand in hand with the seniors that it's a little bit easier for us to, give them what they need as far as, coddling them or something, where that, sometimes a male tech, they're just strictly left brain. They can't do that. There's no way. They're used to working in a server closet. They can't, do this kind of stuff. So being a female and being that part of the female, I think it's a perfect fit for that. And, I spent many years in server closets and doing that. That was my background, from 30 years ago. But I have found that, being a female is easier for you to be able to impart knowledge and in order to teach. So I think it has its advantages. Also, and in repair, because my hands are smaller, I can get into the iPhones a lot easier than these guys with these big hands. Even I have one of the Mac users that is in our group. He was trying to fix his MacBook Air and broke it, so he sent it to me, and then I fixed it and sent it back. So, small hands, nurturing abilities. There are pluses.
Special touch.
Right, it works.
It has a lot to do with trust. A senior citizen is more likely to feel more comfortable with a female like one of us coming into their home. And I mean, there's a lot of our eyes roll over a lot of personal information. There's a lot of stuff tons of
credit
stuff
cards,
things
codes, Apple IDs, passwords, everything.
They tell us things that they wouldn't tell their kids. Right. There is also that neutral third party aspect of it. There are questions, there are feelings, emotions involved that they wouldn't necessarily trust their own kids with, but they would trust us with it. So there's that aspect of it also.
Okay, so how about if we flip it around? That there's sound like you all have a lot of advantages. How about disadvantages from being female to your clientele? Do you think there are disadvantages when they open the door and they say, "Oh, there's a woman. I didn't expect a woman."
There used to be in repair, there is, but not in training. I don't think so. When you're a consultant doing training and stuff, it's not. But in repair, although the other day my vehicle has my business signs on the side of it, and my husband was driving my car, and I was the passenger. I just told him, "Oh, honey, you drive." So then when we got somewhere, someone went up to him and saw the signs, and then they start talking to him about a Mac question or something, and he points to me and says, "I don't know, go talk to her." So I just thought it was really funny because, that was their natural, magnet was to him, not to me. So I just thought it was funny though. But
as far as working disadvantages, only that, and I've heard Jodi say this too, the male clients, usually they're afraid not that they're afraid, that's the wrong word. They don't like to ask for help. It might be emasculating, so usually either the wife calls or the daughter, someone will call on their behalf and then get them in the door, and then then it becomes, there's a young lady that's going to hang out with me for the day. This isn't so bad.
Okay, I think I've gone as far with that as I want to go. I'll get myself in trouble.
He knows us too well.
Yeah. Jodi, you were at Macstock last year. That's where you and I got to know each other. Melissa, this will be your first trip to Macstock. My
first Macstock. I went to Macworld, but it was the first and the last time, unfortunately. So, yeah. Yeah, it's all her fault. I'm blaming Jodi.
It's my fault.
She's the one that's dragging me over there.
Well, I don't know if it's her fault. I think
having to twist my arm. I mean,
yeah, you will thank her in the end. No question about that.
I wanted to go last year really, really badly, and we were like on the map. We were literally this close. We were on a family road trip, and my husband had to attend a workshop, and it was just bad timing. And it was right around Father's Day, I think, wasn't it? During the weekend, and we were so close. We were driving cross country, and we were actually going to be passing by, and if only we had been able to reschedule that, we would have been there. The whole family would have been there. So this year, my husband knew how badly I wanted to go last year, and felt not guilty, but he really wanted me to be able to go. He's very, very supportive. I'm very, very lucky to have the hubby that I do. And so this year, instead of falling on Father's Day, it actually falls on my wedding anniversary. So I'll be celebrating my wedding anniversary
with me. Yay!
Yeah.
With my wife.
I think we need to talk to Mike about scheduling. It's just
you just need to check with me first, Mike. Come on.
Man.
It's all
I wanted to make sure that we touched on maybe some non-Macstock stuff for the folks that have tuned in. So I'd like to ask you each to, now you've kind of described what you do every day and the kind of clients. What are one or two productivity apps, or for that matter, any apps that you just rely on to get done what you need to get done, whether that's the actual work and repair or training or scheduling or, whatever. What are a couple each of your favorite apps? Jodi, how about if you start us?
Well, I love my Square. Being self-employed, you have to, be able to charge something. And I love that I can take my Square, and the Square has a new dashboard, and then different parts of it where every single day, it doesn't matter if I take cash or if I take a check or whatever, I run it through the Square, and then they have an electronic receipt and everything that goes right to their email, or I can text it to them or whatever. And then I can run it through, and I have this dashboard that I know exactly to the dollar every single day or month or whatever year that I make. So I do love my Square. And then I have the new parts of the Square where actually I can take Apple Pay. Someone could pay me with their Apple Watch if they wanted to. I do love the Square. I do love my Square dashboard. Those are something that, I use it every single day just because it keeps, that's the only way that you can take money besides, I guess they have they have PayPal and stuff, but I don't know. I just love the Square. That works for me.
I think PayPal charges a little bit more. I think that's why we decided to go with Square.
Yeah, they have some other ones too, but I just like Square. Square works really good, and their tools are good too. So That's what I do like. That's
one I would not have seen coming. That's really interesting.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're self-employed, you have to take some type of payment, but I just like their analytics. They have all kinds of stuff, and then on their website, you can customize where I have my logo on it, so they get a receipt with my logo, and then they have a happy face, a sad face. They can give you feedback, all kinds of stuff. So
that's actually really helpful.
It's really well done.
It's a nice little confidence boost. They give you a little smiley face, or they'll write was very helpful and very professional. Yay!
Yeah, and being on the receiving end, or the paying end of Square, it's that too is always a positive experience. So because you can, obviously you can get your receipt by email. You can do it so many ways, but interesting.
But you can run everything through it. Right? They print it out.
Yeah.
But then I run all transactions, check, cash, everything. So that's just run through the Square, and then it goes in there. So I use that every day.
I use Square too, and just to piggyback on that, and she should say her second one, but from a consultancy standpoint, it's great for self-employment, but also from a training standpoint, one of the biggest hurdles for seniors in tech is trusting using other methods other than checks, or trusting using credit cards and online banking and things like that. That's one of the biggest requests I get, is to teach seniors how to use online banking and how to keep themselves safe from identity theft and fraudulent charges and things like that. So for example, I have a lot of customers who they don't know what Apple Pay is, and so by using Square, it gives me an opportunity to use it in our kind of safety zone, where they feel safe and they feel comfortable with me. So I can say, well, here, this is what it would look like. Let's simulate what it would look like if you were at the grocery store and you wanted to use it. This is kind of how it would go. And so when they pay me, it's also part of a learning experience for them. And they think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's really, really cool. And they're like, that's it? I'm like, that's it? And then they get their receipt, and it's really cool. Or, educating them on the difference between cards that have the chip in them and cards that swipe. So the three different versions of using a credit card, whether it's with your thumbprint, whether it's with they call it dipping it, or whether it's swiping it, those are the vocabulary terms. So it helps them feel safer and more confident. It's a confidence builder for them. And then, a lot of them still like their check payments. Now, of course, if I do remote support, I insist on using Square because it's safer for me too. But for these local people, I trust them, with their checkbooks. But the tool that I use, then I bank with USAA, and it has an app that will scan the check. So I can I haven't set foot in a brick and mortar bank for close to a decade now. I haven't owned a checkbook in a good 5 or 6 years. So I do everything digitally that way. So Square is really handy for that.
And the bank apps. My bank also. I don't go to the bank. I take the picture of the check front and back, and it goes in. So those kind of things, if you're self-employed, really saves you a lot of time from running to the bank. I used to have to, in the dark at night when I'm coming from someone in the snow and open my car door to try to shove checks through. I don't have to do that anymore. So that has, the bank apps. And I think it's most of the bank. I have a credit union I bank with here, and I think it's most of them that they'll let you do that. And it just goes in.
I think that's almost becoming a requirement now for any bank that wants to continue to service the public.
Right.
Jodi, you want to do your second one, and then we'll turn it over to Melissa?
Well, I love I have both Constant Contact and MailChimp, and I use those apps because I put out a newsletter, and it goes, mine goes to 300 people every month, and I do, like to be able to communicate, and, it's not that expensive. MailChimp's like $10 if you keep it under 500. Constant Contact is 20, but I do like their tools, and I like it that it goes right in people's email, and my clients really like to have that. So
okay, that's good. All right, Melissa, you're up.
So if we're just talking about just apps for the phone, I mean, my phone really is a business machine. It really is. I use an app called Hours Tracker, and it's free to use, but there is like a backup cloud component where you can back up information, and basically it's kind of like a punch clock. And what's nice about it is, as soon as I arrive, I press it, I clock in, and I'll add I charge a trip fee, for on-site, and I'll add that in there, and it'll calculate, because sometimes I have different rates for different clients depending. It'll do all that math for me. I clock in, it keeps track of my time while I'm there, and then when it's time at the end, they'll say, all right, kid, what do I owe you? And I can just clock out, and I can just show it to them, so there's no me well, it's going to be $200 here, and I can just show it to them, and they can see what it is, and they write out the check. And then I'll keep my notes about what we did. I model my business off of kind of like a plumber or even a doctor, for that matter, where I kind of take session notes of what we discussed and what we did, so I can kind of review, and then I'll export that and create a report that I can then email them. Here's a record. Here's a record of our session of what we worked on together, and this is what we were going to work on next time. And I kind of keep notes for that. And that tracks all of my earnings, kind of like Square does, but because I take other methods of payment like checks, I track all that stuff through there. So then, and I have my mileage, and it helps me track everything. And then the other tool that I use a lot is called JotNot Pro. I think it's like $5, I want to say. It's worth every penny. You can even fax from it. So you pay that one fee for the app, and then if you need to fax from it, it's usually like 99 cents a page. But you can do it all from your phone. You don't have to run down to a Kinko's and spend the same amount of money plus gas and everything. So I really find that handy. What it does is it basically turns your phone into a scanner. And a lot of times they'll write notes, or I'll write notes, or there'll be, I take a lot of pictures. I do a lot of photo documentation for people. I have several snowbirds, and so a lot of times they need help packing up their gear, so we'll lay it all out and we'll snap a picture of it, and then that way they can kind of use that as a checklist to, they don't forget to pack something or bring it back, or we have a kind of a record of what gear it is that they use. But the JotNot is really good for scanning documents, and it converts it into a PDF right then and there. You can upload it to Google Drive, Dropbox, Evernote, which is another really great note-taking tool that I like to use. But yeah, so Hours Tracker and JotNot Pro are two apps that I use a lot.
I don't know what I thought you were both going to come up with, but I didn't see any of those coming.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's fascinating. I really do. But you're coming at it from the standpoint of independent contractors and, dealing with a different kind of clientele and, small business owners and all that. So, okay.
Yep.
Folks, I'll make sure we have links in the show notes to all of those, so you can go and check them out and see if they work for you. I think I'll be going and checking them out because I know Square. I don't have a need for Square, but the JotNot Pro thing, I've got a couple scanner apps, but I definitely want to take a look at that. So very interesting.
I think you'll love it. It's actually better than Evernote's built in, to be honest with you. It's much more accurate because you can drag the corners and get them just the way that you want. And I use it for my son's homework all the time. He has ADD. I have fibromyalgia. We're all very, very forgetful people. So this is our brain. It really helps us cope.
Yeah. Jodi, I did want to follow up with you, though, on MailChimp and Constant Contact. Any particular reason that you standardized on those, or and both of those, not just one?
Well, I was using MailChimp for a long time, and they kind of changed some stuff. And right at the end of the year, they blocked me and said, "You're a spammer." I mean, I went round and round with them, and then I ripped them a new one, and got 3 months free after they put me through the ringer.
Do not mess with Jodi.
Yeah. So then I went to Constant Contact because they really made me mad. And I do like Constant Contact is easier. It's easier to learn. It is their tools. If you were just, you don't need to know HTML. You don't have to, dink around with a lot of the coding and stuff. MailChimp is more, I think it's harder, and it's harder to get your templates right. Constant Contact is easier. I like a lot of their analytical tools and stuff. So I have both of them right now because I was trying to migrate to Constant Contact from MailChimp, which I haven't done yet. So I technically in between both of them. But I do like those tools to keep, in touch with, the people that I service. A lot of them, I run people getting browser hijacks, how to get out of a browser hijack, how to clear their cache and that. So, that runs every day. I tell them, print this out, keep it next to your Mac because it's going to happen to you. So, it just, it helps me to have that paper in front of them. So
interesting. Yeah, I've not tried Constant Contact. I use MailChimp for the MacVoices newsletter, and I'll be really intrigued to see Constant Contact because I think MailChimp is pretty easy. So.
Well, they took out that they killed that iPhone app. You can't use the app anymore. Right. So, which why would they do that? So Constant Contact doesn't. They have all the tools on the phone, which is nice because I always have my phone with me. Mm-hmm. So
I think we do a lot of business from our phones. It's
right.
Yeah.
Really an extension of our arm.
Yeah.
It is glued.
We'll have to have you both back and maybe have that discussion too. Go a little more in depth for the phone as a tool.
Oh boy!
But for
fill your brain.
Yeah, but for right now, I'm really looking forward because I have some friends that are dealing with the senior issue. That's
senior moments.
Well, issue is not the right word. The senior situation. There you go. That's the word I wanted. I may cut that out. And so I think anybody, if you're not dealing with it now, you probably have in the past, you will in the future, or at the very least, you're going to run into some friends. So maybe you can help. But that's great.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we have job security in it because it's always going to be an issue.
Yeah. And that's why I started taking on other platforms because there was nobody else. There was nobody to help these people. So that's why
what I hear a lot of. There's just nobody to help them. Yeah. It's really kind of sad. It's a lot of them are like, oh my gosh, thank God I found you. I couldn't find anybody to help me. And
and that means that there are business opportunities out there, folks. So maybe wherever you are in your part of the country, you can start up something like that, and then here are two experts to tell you exactly what you need to do.
Well, come to Macstock and we'll tell you all about it.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll help you out.
There you go. So Woodstock, Illinois, which of course is just outside Chicago in July. I think it's 17 and 18. Again, I'll have everything in the show notes, folks. I hope you'll join me. I hope you will join Jodi and Melissa and all the other great speakers. We're going to have a great time. I can't wait.
Me neither.
Me either.
Melissa, great to have you. I'll see you in Chicago.
Thanks again.
And Jodi, I will get to see you again for the second time, and I can't wait for that either.
Yeah, it'll be great.
All right, see you there.
All right, thank you.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. I hope we will see you in Chicago, in Woodstock, Illinois, outside of Chicago in July for Macstock. Come. You will not regret it, I promise. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices Magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.